Welcome to part 4 of weeding out our classroom libraries. I've talked about 3 categories of books that we want to look at to possibly take out from our libraries. The first was books that perpetuate stereotypes. The second was those books that make difference feel like a negative thing. And the third, which I'm going to talk about in this video, is books that water down a story. It might be in a way that takes away from how serious an injustice is or a social issue is. It might be something that makes certain people invisible. It might be something that attributes a huge social movement to one exceptional person and disregards the roles that other people play in it. Books in this last category lead to a lot of misconceptions. They lead to a skewed and incomplete understanding of very serious and complex issues. Oversimplified portrayals of injustice can even normalize discriminatory behaviors by failing to accurately show the consequences and the complexity. When children start to accept that injustice is a normal, inevitable part of society, they might not feel like there's any point in actively trying to challenge it. It leaves our students less equipped and less motivated to recognize inequities and address them. Books that distort history by attributing the success of a social movement to a single individual oversimplify complex change and diminish the contributions of countless people who've played significant roles in shaping social change. This erasure perpetuates the idea that change is driven by lone heroes rather than by the collective efforts of many people. Overemphasis on a single charismatic leader can undermine the efforts for inclusivity and collaboration to the point of discouraging people, especially those who are less charismatic or less confident speaking to crowds or just plain introverted. And it can discourage them to make them feel disempowered to get involved in the causes that matter to them. While it's important to recognize the leadership and contributions of some pretty amazing people in history, it must be balanced with an understanding of the collaborative nature of activism and the diverse voices that drive change. Even the books that are focused on an individual can provide this more accurate context. One example that kind of hits all these criteria is Kadir Nelson's book, Nelson Mandela. The book makes it seem that Mandela basically single-handedly rescued South Africa, and not that he was a leader in a pre-existing movement. Additionally, the book states things like, "They made war on European settlers who came in search of land and treasure." Isn't it the Europeans who made that war, not by searching for riches, but by taking them by force? Additionally, the pain and injustice of apartheid seems to be reduced to European-only beaches, with no mention of the fact that there were much bigger and much more serious inequities in schools, jobs, property, and politics. At the end of this book, children will be led to believe that everything is better in South Africa now, with no hint that the inequalities established during this era continue to persist there. Sadly, this isn't much different from many children in the United States, who are also led to believe that they're living in this equal post-racial society. This isn't just factual information that's left out. It allows children to ignore the conceptual understanding here. Systemic inequities and social justice have lasting impact. Privilege doesn't magically redistribute itself. Society doesn't reset because of a long-needed legal change. This is how we end up with an educated adult population that thinks if people just worked harder, they wouldn't be in poverty. So as you go through your books now, ask yourself, does this book recognize collective efforts of grassroots activists, community organizers, and marginalized communities in driving change? Or does it perpetuate the myth that change happens because of special individuals who do it by themselves? Does the book make injustice and harm sound passive, or put the oppressors on equal footing with the oppressed? Is there historical accuracy and complexity, or does it oversimplify events and the roles of the people involved? Look at the way the story is told. Does it underestimate children's capacity to engage with the issues in the story? Books have the power to inspire empathy, critical thinking, and deeper awareness of social issues, but only if they approach these topics with honesty, with appropriate context, and with an assumption that children can grasp complex issues and engage with them in meaningful ways.